Over on Jaguar 7, a new baseball video is out. In this video, we talk about the player who got a vote for NL Rookie of the Year despite not even being a rookie. Click the card in the upper right corner to watch. And now, on with our feature presentation. September 7th, 1997. It's week 2 of the NFL season, and we've got a battle in the NFC East in prime time between the Arizona Cardinals and the Dallas Cowboys. Even though the Cardinals were a bad team normally, and even though there was nothing whatsoever in the rules mandating that every team got a primetime game, the Cardinals got one every year at home in September, since they were playing at an outdoor stadium and needed to play a home game early on in the season that wasn't in the blazing Arizona sun, where half the crowd would pass out. And this Week 2 battle against Dallas was that game being shown in front of the entire country through the Sunday Night Football package, which back then was held in the first half of the year by TNT. And if you tuned into TNT on that Sunday night to watch this game, even though the Cowboys were 9.5-point favorites and were predicted by just about everyone to win, what you were treated to was a rather surprising upset in a very good, close, and competitive battle. After the Cowboys led it 22-7 midway through the third quarter and looked to be in complete control of the contest, the Cardinals, thanks to the play of quarterback Ken Graham, stormed back, scored 15 straight points to end regulation, including a game-tying touchdown and 2-point conversion with 1:06 left, and then won it in overtime on a game-winning 20-yard field goal by Kevin Butler, which even led to fans storming the field, something you don't exactly see every day at an NFL game. It was a thrilling contest that turned out to be one of the best and most exciting games of the primetime slate for the entire 1997 season. However, while the whole country got to see this game, there is an asterisk next to that. And that asterisk is none other than Phoenix, as in the metropolitan area where this game was being played in. Now, on the surface, there's nothing unusual about this story. A game gets blacked out in the home city because it doesn't sell out. And yes, even though this was a primetime game against the Cowboys, who were at the height of their popularity in the mid-90s, and were still considered by many at the time to be the most popular team in Arizona, this isn't noteworthy on its own. But the way that the blackout happened? Oh, it's absolutely comical. Because it was essentially a story of one TV network promising to do something, then reneging on that promise and giving a giant middle finger to the Cardinals because they were so disgusted with the team's performance. Because this is the story behind the insane broadcasting controversy, and maybe the strangest broadcasting controversy in the history of the Arizona Cardinals since they moved to the desert. Before I talk about the controversy in question, we need some context to understand how the Cardinals were doing before this game, as well as what the original plan was. And for this, there's another broadcasting rule that we need to explain that you're probably already aware of, even if you might never utilize it. Even though Sunday Night Football was shown on TNT, it doesn't mean that TNT was the exclusive network for the game, since TNT is a cable television network, and not everyone gets cable. The NFL really cared about its fans, and wanted to make sure that no matter what your cable subscription was, and no matter how rich or poor you were, that you'd be able to watch your team at home play a game. A policy that is still long-standing to the— oh, come on. Really? We're doing that? However, if you were in Arizona, while you could watch this game on TNT, if you didn't have a cable subscription, you were still in luck, because you could watch this game, provided that it sold out, on Channel 3, otherwise known as KTVK, Arizona's family. They had an exclusive deal, provided that the game was not blacked out, to televise any Cardinals games that were on TNT. If the game wasn't sold out, then obviously, they could not show the game, and could not circumvent the blackout rules that way. However, if it was sold out, then they would get the entire state tuned into their channel. So it was clearly in their best interest if the game sold out, because the choice was either a live football game between the Cardinals and Cowboys, the two most popular teams in the state, and whatever the heck they usually aired on Sunday nights, which was either a rerun of some TV show or some paid programming. The only problem? It looked like this game was not even coming close to selling out, which isn't really a surprise, seeing as the Cardinals were absolutely notorious for blackouts in the Sun Devil Stadium days. During the 1996 season, every single home game that the Cardinals had, including their Sunday Night Football game early on in Week 2 against the Miami Dolphins, and their game against the Cowboys, was blacked out. The last time a game wasn't blacked out, you had to go all the way back to the final game of the 1995 season, which was their Monday Night Football game on Christmas against the Cowboys. So KTVK was fully expecting that this game might not sell out. However, there was nothing stopping KTVK from buying the remaining tickets to ensure a sellout. This was a common practice, where if a game was looking like it was going to get blacked out, a local company or a TV network would buy the remaining tickets. You can learn more about that strategy by clicking the card in the upper right corner. While the company would take a financial hit, obviously, seeing as they had to buy all of the remaining tickets at face value, the loss would be offset by the good publicity they would get. And in the case of KTVK, the advertising dollars and eyeballs they would get from people tuning into their channel to watch this game. And with that, 1 week before the game, KTVK and the Cardinals were in negotiations to get this game on TV. As even if KTVK had to pay a bit of money to buy the tickets, they would make that back no problem from being able to show the game and get the entire state of Arizona watching. Said Sue Schwartz, the Vice President of Television, Programming, and Operations for Channel 3, "We told them it is in both of our interests to sell out the game. We have talked to them about what we can do to assist them. TNT has an obligation to offer the game in each of the home markets. Ever since TNT has had the NFL contract since 1990, we have owned it locally." And it was looking like KTVK would have to spend $356,000 to guarantee a sellout, since there were roughly 10,000 unsold seats before the deadline, and each ticket cost an average of $35. Again, that might seem like a lot of money for an independent TV station, but the money you would make at advertising and eyeballs and whatnot would offset that relatively easily. But as KTVK said, "I think it's going to come down to Sunday," as in their Week 1 game, which was on the road on August 31st against the Cincinnati Bengals. And to start off this game, the Cardinals look really, really good. Granted, they were playing the team known as the Bengals, but through the first 3 quarters, they were in complete control of this contest, leading at 21-3 thanks to 3 touchdown runs by 3 different players, with one coming from Leland McElroy in the first, one coming from Cedric Smith in the second, and one coming from Larry Centers in the third. The defensive line, led by great players like Simeon Rice and Eric Swan, the latter of whom you can learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner, was giving Bengals quarterback Jeff Blake fits all day long, as he was sacked 4 times throughout the contest. Things were looking amazing for the Cardinals, and that's putting it lightly. They were up by 18, and were looking well on their way to winning their first season opener since 1991. As for what happened after that, well, a collapse. A collapse of epic proportions happened. Kajana Carter scored a touchdown from 2 yards out early in the quarter to make it 21-10. But it was still okay. They were up by 11 with 5 minutes left, and the Bengals were starting this drive on their own 30-yard line. And with under 4 minutes left, they were still in their own territory, facing a 4th and 4. However, after converting that, then quickly driving down the field, and being unable to stop Kajana Carter from the goal line, the lead was cut again, as the Cardinals now only led 21-16. Alright, not great, but it's still alright. There's 2 minutes left in the game. You've got the ball, and you're in Cincinnati territory after recovering an onside kick. And the Bengals don't have any timeouts left. As long as you don't do anything stupid here like fumble the ball, you're okay.
3rd and 10. Centers. Cuts it back inside. He cuts up the football. Bengals have recovered.
Well, crap. Alright, this stinks. Not gonna lie, this stinks a ton. But look, the Bengals only have 70 seconds left. They need a touchdown, and they've got to drive 63 yards to do it with no timeouts left. As long as you can stop them on this drive, you're fine.
On 3rd down, from the 6 to the end zone, touchdown Bengals!
Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Good job, guys. Good freaking job. You blew a 3-possession lead in the 4th quarter to the freaking Cincinnati Bengals in a game where you were up by 2 possessions with under 3 minutes left and recovered the ensuing onside kick. I don't know how you managed to blow this one, but you did. You somehow found a way. Arizona sports teams strike again. And remember what I said earlier about KTVK saying that their decision was going to come down to what happened on Sunday during this game against the Bengals? Well, the station was so disgusted by what happened during this game against the Bengals that when the Cards and KTVK reopened discussions about what to do regarding the televising of this game and buying up the remaining tickets as the blackout deadline drew closer and closer, KTVK said, yeah, about that. Turns out, in their eyes, the value of this Cardinals-Cowboys game just dropped tremendously, because you not only lost, but you blew a 3-possession lead in the 4th quarter to one of the worst teams in the NFL on paper, and destroyed any hope that fans had for this upcoming season. We don't want to show the game anymore. You guys stink. And the comments made by KTVK were hysterical, because in justifying the decision, they said that paying $300,000 and buying up 10,000 tickets was too costly, and not something that they were willing to do. Meanwhile, a week before, when it came to what the conversation was like before the Bengals game, they fully expected that they would have to pay $300,000 and buy 10,000 tickets, and they were fully on board with that, because it was in their best interest if the game sold out. Yet, the loss to the Bengals was so embarrassing, both because it was the Bengals and because it was a blown 18-point lead, that they just decided not to buy the remaining tickets and get the game televised on their own network. In their eyes, it just wasn't worth it. Not after whatever the heck the Cardinals did on the field. And so, unless you were in Sun Devil Stadium on that night for week 2, if you were in Phoenix or Tempe or anywhere else within that 75-mile radius, you were straight out of luck. All because Channel 3 was so disgusted by the team's performance that they changed their mind. Now, am I blaming Channel 3 for this? On one hand, they were under no obligation financially to spend $300,000 and buy the remaining tickets. On the other hand, especially with hindsight knowing how this game played out, it seems a bit short-sighted on their part, seeing as there were a ton of Cowboys fans in the state, and seeing as the advertising dollars still would have been good, since it was only week 2, and the game involved America's team. And that's especially true when you realize that the plans, in terms of how much they need to buy up and how much they would need to pay, were exactly the same as what were projected, and the only reason they changed their mind was because of a week 1 loss. It would be an entirely different story if that loss knocked the Cardinals out of the playoff picture, and now this game was entirely meaningless. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Either way, in 1997, thanks to a bizarre broadcasting controversy, Arizona's family, when it came to the Cardinals, decided not to act like family. Get your official Jaguar Gear 9 merchandise by going to jj9shop.com, and be sure to like and subscribe, as it really helps the channel out a lot. Join me every Wednesday night where we'll play NFL Trivia for cash prizes at 9 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch. To learn more about the history of college football, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8. To learn more about the history of Major League Baseball, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 7. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.